All right, the next thing I wanted to do is add another level of detail, a little more organic sort of texture to this part of the shoe, the outer sole. And what I kind of experimented with and settled on was an enhanced Modo texture, one of the skin textures called leather. Now, by just adding that with the default settings, it gives me a texture that I really don't like. So I had to play a lot with the settings to get something I really liked. So rather than sit there and have you watch me put in all the correct numeric values, I decided to make a preset for you. So I'm just going to go over and delete that, and I'm going to jump over to the assets that I provided for you, and under the materials directory you should see a twisted texture shoe sole material, and just drag and drop it right in the outer sole material. And as you can see, it created this nice little organic material that is applied as a bump material. And you can control the bump by going to the material settings there, and where it says bump amplitude under surface normal, you can increase that numbers to say 5 millimeter if you want more of a bump, or even 10 if you want it to look even more pronounced, or you can dial it back to something like 3 or 2 to make it for a more subtle effect. So it's totally up to you. Now the last thing I want to do is change a parameter within the material's transparency settings, and that parameter is called subsurface scattering, and this will give our material a sort of a semi-translucent sort of look, as you'll see. So let me go ahead and set that to 50%, and immediately you can see now it has bit more of a waxy look to it, as if it's made out of some sort of injected silicone material or something like that. And I'll do the same thing to the center spine. Change that to 50. Okay, now you can see that it also diluted the colors a little bit. So what you can do is go and select the constant from the orange constant and just right click and duplicate that one. And instead of applying it as a diffuse color, change the setting to go to basic settings and change it to subsurface color right there. Now, as you can see, it gives you a very intense saturation there, but you can dial back the opacity a little bit to get a balance between the saturation of the color and the subsurface scattering, or the translucency amount. Now let's go ahead and do the same thing with that teal color. I'm going to grab the constant, that's that teal, and I'm going to just duplicate that and change its settings to subsurface color, which should be right at the top there. And there we go. And again, we could dial back the opacity of that color if we need to. And to get the color in this area, the arch area of the sole, what we can do is simply go to the subsurface color we did on the spine and right click on that and go down to create an instance. So we'll create an instance of that and just drag it up right above the other instance right there, and that should do it. So in conclusion, I'd just like to say, keep experimenting with Mesh Fusion. Keep experimenting with the textures. Keep experimenting with the mesh ops, because it's not so much about the tools, in as much as it's about the tools helping unleash your imagination. And with Modo, the sky's the limit.